Stand your ground without losing your cool. There are moments in life when someone's words cut deep, when a condescending look or a dismissive gesture makes you want to scream or walk away in silence. Maybe you've been interrupted mid-sentence, had your efforts dismissed, or worse, treated as if your presence didn't matter. But here's the truth. It's not what they do that defines you, it's how you choose to respond. In a noisy world that rewards instant reactions, stillness becomes a rare form of strength. And that strength doesn't always look like loud defiance. It often looks like grace under fire. In this video, we'll explore 5 Stoic-inspired strategies to help you protect your dignity without shouting, fighting, or explaining. Just presence, just power. If you've ever struggled with disrespect from co-workers, friends, or even loved ones, this is your blueprint for holding your head high and reclaiming control. Let's begin. 1. The silent stare, when calm becomes the sharpest response. In a world that never stops talking, where everyone's racing to be heard, the power of silence has become almost revolutionary, especially when it's paired with something as subtle yet striking as a silent stare. Not angry, not smug, just a calm, unwavering gaze. And in that stillness, something powerful happens. You disrupt the performance. I remember sitting in a packed meeting room, trying to present an idea I had worked hard on. A colleague, loud and overly self-assured, interrupted me once, twice, a third time. But instead of raising my voice or forcing my way back into the conversation, I did something different. I turned, leaned back slightly, and just looked at him. No reaction, no words. Just 5 long, unblinking seconds of eye contact. The room shifted. People turned to watch. He faltered mid-sentence, looked away, and didn't interrupt again. Here's the truth. People who disrespect others often rely on your emotional reaction. They want you to snap, to justify, to stumble because your reaction gives them relevance. It keeps their drama alive. But when you respond with silence and presence, you remove the oxygen from their fire. You take away their script. The silent stare isn't about intimidation. It's not passive aggression. It's the calm assertion of someone who knows their worth and refuses to waste words on someone who doesn't. It's a quiet boundary drawn in full view, and its message is simple. I see you, but I will not play your game, and your behavior has no power here. This kind of calm isn't weakness, it's mastery. It's what happens when you stop performing and start owning your space. And often, the most profound form of resistance isn't confrontation. It's dignity, still, strong, unshaken. 2. Silence is a subtle, yet powerful form of rejection. One of the most refined forms of self-defense in Stoic philosophy is learning the art of disengagement, not from life, but from the petty, the manipulative, the undeserving. And silence, in all its quiet strength, is the ultimate expression of that refusal. When someone throws a sarcastic remark your way, disguises cruelty as humor, or jabs at your insecurities just to see you flinch, the natural instinct is to fire back, to correct the record, to stand up for yourself. But that's the trap, because in doing so, you acknowledge their words. You validate their need for attention, and worse, you give away your power. But when you remain silent, something unexpected happens. The moment loses its fuel, the stage collapses. They're left standing there, performing for an audience that refuses to clap. And in that silence, a message roars louder than any comeback ever could. You don't matter enough to provoke me. Silence is not weakness. It's a conscious decision to withhold what they want, most your energy. It is a door closing without a sound, but with finality. You don't need to shout, "That's enough." You simply don't participate. No justification, no retort, no emotional currency exchanged. In a world obsessed with reaction where even petty debates are fought like battles, the person who chooses not to respond becomes untouchable. This is the power of emotional sovereignty. The strength of someone who knows that not every insult deserves a reply, not every challenge needs a champion. Silence protects your peace. It filters out the noise. It tells the world, my energy is sacred, and not everyone gets access to it. So the next time disrespect knocks at your door, let silence answer. You'll find that it's not retreat, it's triumph. 3. Stop explaining yourself. Your life is not up for debate. There comes a point in life when you must realize, not everyone deserves a front row seat to your decisions, and they certainly don't deserve an explanation. Yet many of us, almost by default, feel the need to justify every move we make, why we left that job, why we said no, why we chose a different path. But here's the Stoic truth. Your life is not a courtroom, and you are not on trial. When someone asks, why did you do that? They may not be seeking understanding. Often, they're seeking an opening to challenge you, to insert doubt, to pull you back into their version of the world where your independence makes them uncomfortable. They want a reason not because they care, but because your choice disrupts their assumptions. But when you stop explaining yourself, you reclaim your power, you shift the balance. You're no longer seeking approval, you're standing in your truth. A simple, firm, because I wanted to, or that's what felt right for me, is more than enough. And if they press for more, you smile and move on. Every time you over-explain, you erode your inner peace. You invite judgment into a space where only clarity and conviction should live. Stoics understand this. Clarity comes from alignment with nature, with virtue and not with the opinions of others. Think about it. When was the last time you saw someone deeply grounded in their values pause to crowdsource validation for their choices? Rarely, if ever, because true self-respect isn't loud. It doesn't need permission to exist. When you stop justifying your every decision, something remarkable happens. You begin to trust yourself more. You stop living for applause and start living with purpose. Your choices gain weight not from explanation, but from integrity. And perhaps the most powerful lesson here is this. You do not need to be understood to be right. You don't need consensus to be whole. The world may not always agree with your path, but if it's yours, walk it with conviction. No explanations needed. 4. Keep your distance. Protecting your peace is not selfish, it's survival. Let's be honest, some people don't deserve access to your life, not because they're evil or because you're unforgiving, but simply because being around them erodes your peace. You feel smaller, drained, defensive. And yet, we often keep these people close out of guilt, obligation, or the hope that they might change. But here's what the Stoics understood deeply. Your mind, your energy, your spirit, they are sacred, and they need boundaries. Keeping your distance isn't about being cold or cutting people off dramatically. It's about making a conscious decision to value your well-being above someone else's entitlement to your presence. You don't have to burn bridges. You don't even have to announce your departure. You simply step back, create space. Let the silence do the editing. Sometimes, the most radical act of self-respect is not confrontation, it's absence. There was a time I kept a friend in my circle who constantly belittled me under the guise of just joking. He'd mock my ambitions, question my relationships, roll his eyes whenever I spoke of growth or change. I'd laugh it off until I realized I wasn't laughing anymore. I was bracing, flinching, dimming. And then I stopped showing up. No drama, no explanations, just fewer calls, less interaction, more space. In that distance, I saw clearly. I wasn't overreacting. I was finally reacting the way I should have all along. Society often teaches us that distance equals disloyalty, that walking away means weakness. But that's a myth. Boundaries are not betrayal. In fact, they are love directed inward. When you keep people who disrespect you at arm's length, you give yourself room to breathe, to grow, to heal. You remind yourself that peace is not a luxury, it's a non-negotiable. You're not cold for protecting your peace. You're not heartless for choosing your sanity. You're wise. You're grounded. You're becoming exactly what the Stoics valued most. Someone who governs themselves before trying to govern the world. So if someone consistently makes you feel less seen, less heard, less whole, ask yourself, do they truly deserve this much access to your life? If the answer is no, then step back. Not in anger, but in clarity. The kind of clarity that says, I choose peace, I choose me. 5. Hold your head high, because self-respect begins with posture of the mind. There's a reason people look down when they feel ashamed and stand taller when they feel proud. The way you carry yourself sends a message not just to others, but to yourself. And when someone disrespects you, the most powerful response might not be a clever comeback or a long-winded explanation. It might simply be this: don't shrink. That's the essence of Stoic resilience, refusing to let someone else's opinion dictate your posture, your presence, or your self-worth. When the world tries to make you doubt your value, you hold your head high, not out of arrogance, but out of quiet conviction. Because when someone belittles you, what they truly want is for you to internalize their view of you, to believe, even just a little, that you deserve to feel small. They want your shoulders to slump, your eyes to lower, your spirit to soften. But what happens when you meet disrespect with poise? What happens when you walk into the room with calm, confidence, unapologetic, grounded, unshaken? You become untouchable. Holding your head high is not just physical. It's a mental posture that says, I know who I am, and you don't get to decide my value. It's walking away from an insult without taking it with you. It's listening to a jab and letting it fall to the ground instead of carrying it into your soul. This is what makes it so powerful and, to some, so unsettling. People who thrive on disrespect often don't know what to do with someone who won't play their game. When you don't flinch, when you don't crumble, you reflect something back at them, their powerlessness. There was a moment in my own life when I realized the impact of this truth. In the past, if someone mocked me or threw shade, I'd shrink emotionally, energetically, even physically. I'd fumble to defend myself or make things smoother, but one day something shifted. Someone said something cruel, and instead of responding, I stood still. I looked them in the eye. I smiled not to mock, but to let them know I was unmoved. I straightened my shoulders, and I walked on. In that moment, I wasn't just walking away from them, I was walking into a new version of myself. So the next time you feel small, pause, breathe, stand up straight, hold your head high, not as a performance, but as a practice, a Stoic practice. One that reminds you, no matter what others think, your dignity is not up for negotiation. Because in the end, respect doesn't start with them. It starts with you. And when you respect yourself deeply enough, you stop needing it from those who don't know how to give it. Conclusion: self-respect isn't something you demand, it's something you embody. Stoicism doesn't teach you how to control others, it teaches you how to master yourself. And when you learn that, disrespect loses its grip, the noise fades, the opinions dissolve. What remains is your inner fortress, calm, unshaken, immovable. People may mock you, interrupt you, misunderstand you, but no one, not a single person, can take away your dignity unless you hand it to them. That's your power, and that's your responsibility. You don't need to engage in every argument. You don't need to defend yourself to people who never cared to understand. You don't owe anyone your energy just because they demand a reaction. What you do need is this: a fierce, steady commitment to your own self-worth. A quiet fire that burns, even when the storm outside rages. You hold your head high, you stand your ground, and you let the world know, without ever raising your voice, that you are not someone to be dismissed. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to reflect. What's one situation where you can reclaim your self-respect starting today? Drop it in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you found value here, consider giving this video a like. It helps more people discover the Stoic tools we all need to navigate this noisy world. For more insights like this and living deliberately, standing tall, and building unshakable inner strength, make sure you subscribe to the channel. This is just the beginning. Until next time, stay calm, stay clear, and above all, stay true to who you are. You add another brick to the identity you're building. I am the kind of person who keeps going. And here's the secret. You don't need to advertise your struggle. Let the world see your results, not your breakdowns. Let your silence speak louder than their noise. The obstacle is not your enemy. It's your trainer. It's showing you where your discipline leaks, where your belief bends, where your ego wants attention. So don't fear it. Welcome it. And when it comes, as it surely will, say nothing. Just smile and keep moving. Step 11. Track your progress. Weekly data over delusion. Most people are moving. They're busy, tired, always doing something. But they're not improving, because they never stop to measure. They confuse activity with progress, and that's how entire years get wasted. Don't mistake movement for growth, measure it. Over the next 60 days, your job isn't just to act, it's to reflect. To pause once a week, step back and ask, what worked? Where did I slip? What needs adjusting? This is how you go from reacting to refining. This is how you become intentional, not just motivated. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his journal nightly, not because he doubted himself, but because he understood the danger of drifting. Without review, your days blur, your habits fade, and before you know it, you're back where you started with a nice excuse to blame. Here's how to keep yourself grounded. Once a week, same time, same place. Open your journal, or phone, or voice memo. Ask yourself 3 questions. 1. What did I do this week that moved me closer to my goal? 2. Where did I hesitate, avoid, or make excuses? Why? 3. What will I change or reinforce next week? That's it. You're not judging yourself. You're studying yourself. Like a Stoic warrior studying the battlefield without drama, without ego. Track your patterns. Do you procrastinate after lunch? Are weekends your weakness? Does your energy crash after 9 p.m.? These are insights. And insights are leverage if you're honest enough to use them. Without this awareness, you're flying blind. With it, you're building with precision. Remember, success isn't built on hustle alone. It's built on self-correction, on steady calibration, on small pivots made weekly before they become big problems. Track your progress, not to punish yourself, but to prove to yourself that you're still on the path. Step 12. Stay committed, especially when it's hard. Anyone can commit on day 1. When the plan is fresh, the journal is new, and the energy is high, it's easy to feel unstoppable. But real change doesn't happen when it's easy. It happens when it gets hard, when the motivation disappears, when progress slows, when nobody's watching, and you still choose to show up. Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body. Seneca, this is where 99% of people quit. They call it burnout. They say, life got in the way. But the truth? They never committed to endure the hard part, the real part. You're not here to flirt with transformation. You're here to finish what you started. So expect this. There will be days you don't want to keep going. Days when your schedule explodes, your body's tired, your mind rebels. That's the moment that matters most. Not the days when everything goes right, but the days when it doesn't and you keep moving anyway. Why? Because every time you act when quitting is easier, you solidify a new identity. I am someone who follows through. I don't negotiate with weakness. And that belief, that internal truth, is more powerful than any temporary goal. Neuroscience proves this too. Consistency under pressure rewires your brain. Every act of discipline strengthens the neural pathway of resilience. And that's how you become unshakable. You won't be perfect. You'll miss some steps. You'll stumble, but never break the chain. When that voice says, just skip one day, you say, "Number, I've come too far. I finish things now." This isn't just a 60-day challenge. It's a doorway to a new standard. Because once you realize you can stay committed, especially when it's inconvenient, especially when no one is watching, you'll never want to go back. The goal isn't perfection. It's proof to yourself that you are no longer the kind of person who quits. And that changes everything. Conclusion. You've made it to the end, but the real journey begins now. Not when you feel ready, not when life gets easier, but now when it's still uncomfortable, still uncertain, still hard. Because transformation doesn't ask for permission. It demands action, quiet, consistent, deliberate. So take the first real step. Write it down. Set the date. Cut the excuses. Walk forward every single day. No more, maybe next time. This is the moment. You don't need more motivation. You need one decision followed by 60 days of discipline. And when doubt whispers, remember, the world may not notice your commitment, but your future self will never forget it. If you're ready, comment below. I choose discipline. It's simple, it's powerful, it's yours. If this helped you, hit like. Subscribe for more tools to master your mind the Stoic way.